Welcome to Lettermen Row, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk position battles a week into training camp, what's going on, which Buckeyes are impressing, and where these battles stand after 1 week of Ohio State football training camp. But first, we've got to tell you about Academy Sports and Outdoors. Academy Sports and Outdoors carries all the gear you need from the top brands, all at low prices you'll love. And now shopping at Academy is more convenient than ever. Academy offers free assembly on in-store purchases of most bikes and grills, plus free and easy curbside pickup on academy.com. Orders. Want to save even more money every day? Open and use an Academy Sports and Outdoors credit card and get 5% off future purchases when you're approved. Save time and money at Academy Sports and Outdoors and have fun out there. Mick Walker, Spencer Holbrook. We're a week into Ohio State training camp. Mick, we've got position battles to talk about. Obviously, the one everybody's been wondering about. That's right. We've got a huge update on the punter battle. Now, I know you guys want to know about quarterbacks. We're going to talk quarterbacks. Mick, good first week of camp. How are we doing?
Good, yeah. It's good to just see football on the field. We got to also see some pads go on last Saturday for our last open, kind of viewing session of training camp. So it's good to just see the shoulder pads get on, hear little pads popping. We get to hear it a little bit when we're sitting in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center waiting for them to finish up practice and kind of come in and talk to us. But still, it's good to see it and hear it. But overall, I think it's been good. I think other than the Hedrick Houston news the first day, which we don't really have to get into at this point. We've talked about it a couple of times on video format. But other than that, it seems like it's been a overall pretty good few weeks, first week of practice for the Buckeyes. And that's what Ryan Day, Matt Patricia, Ryan Harlan, all of them said kind of since we spoke to them, even James Laurinaitis on, Wednesday.
Yeah, it's been a good first week. I think the Buckeyes have gotten a lot that they wanted to accomplish accomplished. One thing that's not accomplished yet is a starting quarterback. On Tuesday, we heard from Lincoln Keenholz and Julian Sayin and quarterbacks coach Billy Fessler. Ryan Day spoke. There was a lot to learn from that. What we haven't learned at all is who the starting quarterback is going to be. We're not going to learn that probably for another at least 10 days. I would say even more than that right now. This is, by all accounts, Mick, I don't care what people say about some fake competition. This is a real quarterback competition we've got going on right now between Keenholz, the redshirt sophomore, and Sayin, the redshirt freshman. There's not really an update right now. We're not going to spend too much time there just because they're pushing each other. Lincoln Keenholz said they're pushing each other every day in practice. There's different things that Julian does on film that he wants to get better at. There's different things that he does on film that Julian takes notes of. They're using their strengths while pushing themselves through their outside of their comfort zones. Obviously, the evaluations are ongoing, but I truly don't think that Ohio State is considering this like in a quarterback battle mode right now. It's more like both guys are getting the reps that they need. And in the next few days, it's going to start to progress into the battle as they get into those obvious scrimmage situations and situational football. And everything's a data point. But I don't think that we really have anything on the quarterback battle just yet that leans us one way or another.
No, and the biggest thing is, like you said, everybody has their strengths. Like we've seen them when Lincoln Keenholz steps to the podium on Tuesday afternoon. He carried himself very well. When Julian Sayin stepped up there, you can still see he's getting used to kind of dealing with 40, 50 people in his face trying to talk to him about all this stuff, and that's perfectly fine. But then last Saturday when we're out there watching drills and Lincoln Keenholz has to throw a deep ball 30, 40 yards down the field, you'd have some that were coming up short, some that were going long. He just wasn't really able to pinpoint it. Meanwhile, Julian Sayin is dropping them pretty much exactly where the coaching staff told him to put them every single time. And that's kind of just the encapsulation of this quarterback's battle in itself. And it's not just off the field stuff like with Lincoln. He is obviously a very good passer on the field. He's a very good athlete on the field, but there's different things that both these guys do well. And overall, I don't think that at this point they're probably coming up on their first scrimmage. Spencer knows the overall schedule better than I do. It has to be difficult for anybody to kind of distinguish themselves one way or another before you're actually hitting each other full on, trying to get live reps as close as you can before this Texas game, and you can actually see some live bullets when Lincoln gets shoved to the ground or when Julian gets shoved to the ground or one other guy, one of these mistakes happens. How do they step up when they need a big pass on one of these third downs in a scrimmage? Does either one of these guys hit it when they need to? Those are the things you probably need to figure out when the bullets actually start flying.
Yeah, the thing about this quarterback battle, Mick, is if this is an all slants and all screens offense, it's Lincoln Keenholz with a bullet. Because he throws the best slant ball I've ever seen in my life. If it's all deep, oops, all deep balls, kind of like oops, all berries, the cereal, Like if it's oops all deep balls, I think it's Julian Sand's job with the bullet. Now it's the intermediate stuff that they're going to be graded on. Those middle of the field throws, those sideline throws that I do think that Sand has a little bit of an edge on, but not by much. The thing about the athleticism is it doesn't show up in practice. Julian's a capable athlete. Lincoln's an exceptional athlete. That doesn't show up on the practice field because neither of those guys are allowed to be hit right now. They're both in black jerseys and non-contact jerseys. So, and they're not going to even risk quarterbacks getting hit unless it's by accident or unless somebody's stepping up in the pocket and making a throw and they get knocked down just because it's the way football goes. But, you're not going to see a lot of that in camp. And so Ryan Day, Billy Fessler, those guys have to take everything into account. It's what you're doing in the weight room. Lincoln Kienholz was an Iron Buckeye. Julian Sand wasn't, but he gained 10 pounds this offseason of good weight. So you can tell that he also took the weight room seriously, but Lincoln was an Iron Buckeye. You look at what they do in the locker room. I know Lincoln has the respect of a lot of his teammates. I think Julian stepped up in that regard as well. He talked about being authentically himself and trying to lead that way and not trying to be something that you're not. I think in the past there have been certain Ohio State quarterbacks that maybe have tried to force a little bit of leadership and it didn't come off as authentic. So, it's just so close right now. And this battle is going to be won on the margins. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm excited to see how it pans out. But to be honest, beyond that, there's just not a lot to say about it. These two guys are going to compete. We're going to be texting sources, trying to get information on this. Going to throw some phone calls out there, some lines, if you will, and see what people have to say, just because they're going to be as tight-lipped as possible. And this is probably the most competitive battle we've seen of the Ryan Day era at Ohio State.
Without a doubt. And I'm going to say this, and I think Spencer will know what I mean when I say it, but I'll explain it after I say it. But I think when we watch them, whether it's the practices or the spring games, whatever we've had to watch, you can certainly tell if Lincoln Kienholz is going to make a mistake, it feels like it's typically going to result in a sack. Lincoln Kienholz likes to if he can't see it clearly, that's why Spencer said slants, quick routes, things that he knows that are coming that he can very quickly hit. If he's going to make a mistake, it's going to result in a sack because he's going to hold the ball. If Julian Sand makes a mistake, it's probably more likely to result in an interception because I think he trusts his arm a good bit and he feels like he can kind of just make every throw on the field and just sling it out there. And so I don't know, can you maybe take some of the tendency to just risk it with your arm out of Julian Sand and get him to kind of dialed in on what that is? Can you speed Lincoln Kienholz up? I don't know how you do one of those things either way, but I think that's kind of what Ryan Day has to figure out because it's just weird. It's very specific things that I think if they were able to clear up just one way or another, like you said, with the margins, it would be maybe decisive one way or another, but just those little things have not stacked up one way in either party's favor. So you can't really declare anybody one way or another.
I think Lettermen Row's Austin Ward put it the best way. And I've kind of not stolen this, but we've talked about it quite a bit. Lincoln's best and Lincoln's worst are probably here. And he's somewhere in the middle right here. Julian's best and Julian's worst are here. And he's most of the time kind of a little sporadic at times. I think the floor for, and I agree with Austin when he says this, I think the floor for Julian is probably lower because Lincoln is just like a steady Eddie. But I think the ceiling with Julian is higher. So we'll see what happens. That quarterback battle could go either way right now. But, Mick, it's not the only battle. Everybody wants to know about quarterbacks, but it's not the only battle. Let's go to the offensive tackle first because I think it'll be a quick discussion. Shouldn't have been – honestly, I don't think it should have been a discussion, but now it is. Ryan Day stepped to the podium on Tuesday, was only supposed to answer questions for about 10 minutes. He did that, but in the process of that was talking when prompted by 24/7 Sports' Pat Murphy, asked him about Austin Cereveld being able to play right tackle, and then Ryan Day launched into a diatribe about Austin Cereveld playing left tackle. And about partway through that, Ryan said, that's why we think he can play left tackle. And Pat said, you said left, you mean right. And Ryan Day said, no, he's practicing at left. What the heck, man? Ethan Onyanwa has been projected as the left tackle since he arrived in January. Austin Cereveld has been so good that he was named a starter after the spring game somewhere on the offensive line, but we don't know where. We've always expected him to play right tackle, but he's taking reps at left tackle. Now, whether that's cross-training secondary positions or whether that's real, we're kind of unsure right now. I'm intrigued to see where this takes us, though, because if Cereveld plays left tackle, Onyanwa is probably going to play right tackle, but is he the best right tackle? And is he a better left tackle than he is right tackle, but Cereveld's a better left tackle than he is? I just don't know. And I also now don't know who's going to play left tackle and who's going to play right tackle, but I'm pretty sure those two are going to be the starting tackles.
Fortunately enough for us, they did all these moving around after we left, so we didn't actually get to see the final day. Nice of them to let us have a little one-on-one session, so you got to see Ethan Onion go against Bo Atkinson or Caden Curry or like you got to see some of these reps, and you go, okay, he did lose his fair share. Like he got put in the dirt by Caden Curry on one. CJ Hicks got him pretty good, but then he won a couple against Bo Atkinson or some of these other defensive ends. So you kind of sat there and you went, okay, I can see the vision. He's got some things to clean up. Ethan Onion at left tackle, but I can kind of stamp him there at left tackle. And then all of a sudden, like you said, Ryan Day steps up to the podium on Tuesday, and you go, you know what? Austin Saravel is also playing left tackle. And it was just a very, very large switch from what we had kind of seen and heard all throughout the offseason. And again, it could mean absolutely nothing. It could just be the Cole cross training, Donovan Jackson, like we're not going to get caught in this position again. But it also could just mean they're not sure about one guy, or maybe Austin Saravel, if you want to take the complete optimistic approach, has just been so good that they said, let's put our best offensive lineman at the most important spot because he can play. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe that is probably your most gold standard silver lining of all things. The worst would be that Ethan Oniano is struggling. You don't know if he can play either tackle spot. But from what we saw through 3 days, I don't really see how he had just fallen off that way. So I'm not entirely sure. I think it's, like you said, I think it's those two at either spot. I think Philip Daniels is kind of accepted, and I think they've kind of got to a point with him, like, let's take a year and get you ready to play at Ohio State competition level for a year. You get same thing with Ian Moore, like let's get a year, get you some more weight on your under, you get a little more like beef in you, figure out how that's going to happen. But those two guys feels like they've told him essentially like, hey, you're gonna be developing this year, but the Ethan Oniano and Austin Saravel are playing tackles somewhere. Yeah. Not defensive tackle though. That's a different battle. We'll get to that. Not defensive. They're offensive tackle.
Yeah. Correct. Good point there. It's just interesting to me that now we're talking about which guy is going to play which side. They're going to be the two starting tackles. We'll just see which side. We're not going to see any more Ohio State practice, so we're actually just going to have to go on what sources tell us and then what the coaching staff tells us. Austin Ward, Jeremy Birmingham, Alex Gleitman, Mick Walker, and I will have lines out to everybody we can, trying to figure out what the heck is going on in the Ohio State offensive line. It looks to be settled with the starting five, but we don't know where exactly all those guys are going to line up. Basically, right now, other than Carson Hinsman playing center, I guess the two guards could still flip-flop as well because they're cross-training at different spots as well. So we'll see what happens. That's the offensive tackle position. Let's chug along here. Defensive tackle, Edric Houston is expected to be back on the practice field. Actually, it was either yesterday or today, Thursday, August 7th, as we record this. Ohio State practiced on Thursday morning. They practiced on Wednesday morning. They'll practice, I believe, on Friday morning. We'll see what he's doing. We actually won't see. We'll try to figure out what exactly he's doing and if he's full go on the practice field doing everything he needs to do. He's going to be back for the Texas game. It's not really a question. He sat out for a week. Now he's back. But we'll find out more there. But I think that this was a valuable week for Ohio State without Edric Houston, to be honest, Mick. And I asked Ryan Day about it a little bit. Is like these guys are now learning, whether it's Eric Mensah, whether it's Jason Moore, whether it's Tywan Malone or Will Smith Jr., they're all learning how to prepare up a rung on the depth chart because Edric Houston has been out for a week. So it's probably silver lining good news for Ohio State, all things considered, especially now that we know that Houston's injury wasn't serious. I think this actually could turn out to be a net positive for Ohio State, almost in the same vein as when disease struck the offensive line room last year and they had to just throw whoever the five healthiest guys were out there for the first week and a half of training camp and figure out offensive line strategy. And then it ended up coming in handy when everybody got hurt in the middle of the season. They turned back to that experience and figured out a way to push forward in a little bit of a weird twisted same vein there. Edric Houston being out has made all of these guys kind of elevate their game. And I think it could help this defensive line. Lettermen Row rated the confidence level of the defensive line at an 8 after seeing the first 3 practices, when in reality, we probably thought it would be like a 5 or a 6 right now. So there's some positive movement there. It's just a matter of who's going to rise to the occasion. We know Caden McDonald and Edric Houston are the 2 starters here, Mick. But is it Tywan Malone, who's the second 3-tech on the field after Edric Houston? Is it Will Smith Jr., who's a nose tackle for Caden McDonald when Caden needs a breather? Is Eric Mensah making the push that maybe we saw in those first 3 practices that I thought were really impressive from him? Is Jarquez Carter going to take a leap here as a freshman? Is he going to lose that black stripe soon and maybe earn some playing time as a true freshman? We get a guy like Jason Moore finally take the step that we all thought he could as a former top 65 recruit nationally. Like, a lot of question marks there. And that is still a key position battle, even if we already know the starters, because they're going to have to play more than 2 defensive tackles.
Yeah, and I think really the biggest winner or revelation or whatever it would be Eric Mensah. Just it seems like he's stepped into a lot of those 3 technique snaps with Edric Houston gone, and he's just been a guy multiple times. I think I've told you, or I've told Berm, or I've told Austin, or one of you guys have told one. Like, we, full disclosure, people, we stand around each other a lot whenever we're at these availabilities, so we say a lot of different things to each other. But Eric Mensah has been a discussion of ours a couple times, whether he's walking off the field or he has the pads on, and it's like, oh, that's Eric Mensah again. Like, he looks notable when he's coming off the field. I'm not talking like he's built like he's a bodybuilder or anything, but he is an impressive looking 3 technique. So maybe you'd like to see, like, again, we need to see that live bullets get on the field against Texas. Can you trust them? Like, that still has yet to be decided, but he looks good, seemingly has played good since he's gotten into the kind of the lineup now that with Edric Houston down. But like you said, it doesn't matter in the, like, he's not going to start because we've seen Edric Houston walk around the field. He's been kind of lingering around the media, making sure he shakes hands, talks to some people. Like, if a guy was seriously injured or struggling, they would not even allow him to come close to us just because they know we're going to poke and prod or ask questions, just trying to figure out what stuff is, because most of us know these players. Edric still pops around, kind of talks to guys, but now what is Eric Mensah going to do? That's my biggest question specifically with him, because I think he's looked good so far. Will Smith Jr. as a backup, kind of like one technique to Caden McDonald. Can he stick in there? You said Jason Moore, Jarquez Carter. I felt like my job was watching the freshmen through the first 3 practices. The second couple, he was not really doing a lot of team stuff. So obviously that hurts to have Edric and Jarquez Carter down. But still, out of a guy like him, if you're only asking him to play 10, 15 snaps, he can probably come along a little bit slower into the beginning of the season till you get to that point. So it'll just be fascinating, especially like you said, talking to these sources, talking to the people at scrimmage, like after scrimmages, who actually look good, were they able to run the ball, were they not able to run, just figuring out what happened on this defensive line, because it's just an underlying thing of where you need more depth, and that's kind of the battle there. It's not starting battles, it's who can bring more depth and actually contribute.
Yeah, Mick, I've been thinking a lot about this Ohio State roster, who's going to contribute, who's not going to contribute. And a large contributor to me having less money is Academy Sports and Outdoors, because at Academy Sports and Outdoors, you carry all the gear they need from the top brands, all at prices you'll love. Now shopping at Academy is more convenient than ever. They offer free assembly on all in-store purchases of most bikes and grills, plus free and easy curbside pickup on academysportsandоutdoors.com. Want to save even more money? Do it the easy way. Open an Academy Sports and Outdoors credit card. Get 5% off future purchases when you're approved. Save time, save money at Academy Sports and Outdoors, and have fun out there. Academy Sports and Outdoors is a new proud sponsor of Lettermen Row. We're excited to team with Academy Sports and Outdoors. You'll hear a lot more about Academy Sports and Outdoors all season on the Lettermen Row YouTube channel. Stay tuned. You'll hear more from them as the season goes along, as Mick and I continue to talk about the Buckeyes.
If anybody was curious, Spencer and I talked about this the other day when we found out that Academy Sports and Outdoors was going to graciously come on and be a sponsor of this podcast. Where can you find an Academy Sports and Outdoors? Springfield, Ohio, there is one. There's one down in Zanesville, Ohio. If you're in the central Ohio area, I believe there's some others in the outskirts of the Ohio, different Cleveland and Cincinnati areas. Yeah. Obviously, last week on the Saturday practice, I had a gentleman come up to me and say that he was from Charleston, South Carolina, but he enjoys listening to Spencer and I's podcast. You Ohio State fans down in the South, down in SEC country, are probably much more familiar with it. But if you just pull up that your Google Maps, your Waze, whatever it is, you can find Academy Sports and Outdoors all around you. I promise. Oh yeah. I believe our new addition to On3, Josh Pate, will also tell you that if you can't, Academy Sports and Outdoors online, they'll get you everything you need. You ship it up here to Big Ten country where they have national championships.
Yeah, exactly. This is just what we do in the North. We win the national championships. It's a pretty cool thing that the Big Ten's got going on right now. 2 straight national champions. We don't talk about that 23 team that won the national championship. We just talk about the 24 team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, the defending national champs. Mick, we've got a couple other position battles to get to. Let's talk about safeties, because Ohio State has a rip-roaring safety battle going on. So, full disclosure, first day of practice, I was watching the safeties. I thought Malik Hartford had an excellent day. They were just doing some chase drills, some snuff out the screen drills. I thought Malik was very good. Flash forward just a couple days later, Jalen McClain's named an Iron Buckeye, which is one of the highest honors you can have bestowed upon you from the Leadership Council, from the Mickey Marotti strength staff, from all those people that matter in the building. Iron Buckeye is the gold standard. It's the iron standard, if you will, for Ohio State football. Jalen McClain earned that honor. Well, Lincoln Keenholz did too. I wrote about that over at lettermenrow.com from Lincoln's point of view. But Jalen earned that. So I like what Malik Hartford has done with his body, what he's done to gain weight and look the part, and he certainly looks the part. I think Jalen had a good start to his spring as well. I thought Malik, to be honest, maybe had the edge a little bit coming into camp, and I thought he had a good first few days. But then Jalen's named an Iron Buckeye. We're hearing about Jalen more and more, looking good. And then, oh, by the way, Caleb Downs has a chance to play that nickel safety, but also that nickel in the box. That means that Jalen and Malik could both be on the field at once. And the nickel could be up for grabs with maybe Caleb Downs doing more of that stuff so he can be near the line of scrimmage. So is this a real battle? Are they both going to start? Are they both going to play? Are they both going to just be change-ups? Will they each play alongside Caleb Downs in different packages, but does that give away the defensive alignment? It is a big mystery wrapped in an enigma right now, and we've got to figure out what the heck is going on at safety. But it certainly, if nothing else, is a battle to see which one of these guys is better suited for this Ohio State defense.
Yeah, what if the real safety battle was the friends we made along the way, Spencer? Or for Matt Patricia, what if it is what we learned along the way? Like I can play Caleb Downs in the slot whenever we play, or Penn State or Michigan who have these tight ends, and I can move Malik Hartford back, and I can move Jalen McClain up to the line of scrimmage. What if that's what you figure out? What if you figured out that you can also move Lorenzo Styles back to play safety so you can slide other guys around? I truthfully don't know where this ends. Like you said, I think it actually does probably end with everybody playing a little bit of a role alongside Caleb Downs, just building the defense around him, kind of using him as the centerpiece. I think that's kind of how it works. It's the same thing with kind of some of these edge guys. There's not really a battle on the defensive end, but there's 4 or 5, 6 guys out there that you think could play. So you got to find the rotation and how each guy fits. That's something that they'll have to figure out. And it's the same thing at safety. I think both those guys are kind of starting caliber. I would agree with you that coming in, I thought Malik Hartford would probably solidify it and make it his job solely. Seems like Jalen McClain has done everything in his power to make sure he's still firmly an option to win this job. And for good reason. He's a talented player. He brings a little bit something different than Malik Hartford. And I guess we'll see how it kind of shapes up here. Again, need live bullets. You probably even need like an actual game situation to figure out. I know Texas got a transfer tight end this spring. So does Matt Patricia believe that he warrants enough coverage and attention that Caleb Downs plays in the slot? Or if Ryan Wing goes in the slot, does Caleb Downs slide in there? I don't know those full things, but it's something that I guess we'll kind of see August 30th when the Burnt Orange and Bevo and the Texas Longhorn come into Ohio Stadium.
Is Bevo coming?
I don't know. Burn might not be coming. Burn's kind of injured. We'll talk about that at a different day.
Oh, my gosh. Do you know what? I'm going to make it my goal to find out from the facilities folks at Ohio State. I know there are people at Ohio State who watch this Lettermen Row YouTube channel. If you have been contacted at Ohio State facilities about Bevo's potential attendance at Ohio State, Texas, let me know. I want to know if Bevo's coming. I'm going to try to break the news of whether Bevo's coming or not. I think that's the hard-hitting journalism the folks who love Lettermen Row demand from me, and I'm going to try to find it. Just like I set out on a crusade to find the Cotton Bowl trophy last year. Was unsuccessful in that, by the way. It did make its way to Columbus, but I was unsuccessful in finding out where it was because no one knew where it was for like 3 weeks. But I tried, okay? And I'm going to try to figure out if Bevo's coming before the 30th. I'm going to
tell you what. Listen to this, Texas. If you try and send Bevo up here, we're sending Spencer Holbrook down a year later to Austin, Texas. So heed this warning. He's coming if you send the bull.
Is Bevo coming? If so, we could make quite a few steaks for the fine folks at Lettermen Row out of Bevo. And if Matthew McConaughey's coming, I need to know. So, are the Mannings going to be there? I would assume Peyton and Eli and Archie are going to be there. Maybe Cooper will be there. A lot of people are going to be there. You know who else will be there, Mick? Joe McGuire and Nick McClarty. Both punters will be on the sideline for Ohio State. We don't know which one's going to be punting, though, because sources, and I mean hashtag sources from lettermenrow.com, Mick, have been telling us that this punter battle is as close as it could possibly be. Nick McClarty has taken the proper steps mechanically that Ohio State wanted to see from him last year, where he, quite frankly, was not good last year. With his mechanics, the way he was getting the ball to his foot as a tall, like 6'11" monster at punter, from the hang time, from the ability to get the proper spin on the ball, depending on what punts they were doing, things like that. All the mechanics that you need from a punter who plays American football. Ball go far is what Nick McClarty does best. Let's just be honest. He's starting to get the other things down just as well as Joe McGuire. But Joe McGuire, according to those same sources, has also taken steps forward. And so now we've got to figure out who's going to start. This is a legitimate battle. It's not something that we need to pay too close attention to because Ohio State doesn't punt very often. This isn't Rutgers or Purdue. But it is a program that when they do punt, it's usually near the 50-yard line. They've got to put pins people deep, and it does kind of decide games sometimes. So I think this is a battle that I'm going to be willing to watch. We don't need to spend a ton of time on this or give some thoughts or hot takes or bold predictions. It's just one of those things where there's an active punting battle, and we're going to see who wins the job.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think this is diving into too much information. Spencer and I were working in the Willie Hayes Athletic Center on Wednesday. Spencer asked somebody that was walking by, said, "Do you have a punter?" And the person said, "We have two good ones." And that was the way that they wanted to end that conversation. That was about all they said. Not that they've decided on one. They believe they have two good ones. And the coolest anecdote during that whole conversation was that the source mentioned that Cam Johnston, who's the punter for our Pittsburgh Steelers, who consistently comes back to Columbus and kind of works out, he spent some time with both these guys, and especially Joe McGuire, on some of the finer things this summer on what they need to improve on. So that's cool. I mean, everybody likes to hear about the brotherhood at Ohio State, and it extends all the way into the specialists. Cam Johnston was here. I think Spencer might have gotten late to that camp, and I know Spencer came to every summer camp this summer. Yeah. So we kind of got to hear all about it. But there was one camp where Cam Johnston was out there kind of just practicing, and he was booming some balls. Obviously, I think Joe McGuire and Nick McClarty will do a good job for Ohio State, but if you were out there listening to Cam Johnston punt a ball and you just turned your back, you'd think there was an actual shotgun shell that just got fired behind you, just because that's how it comes off his foot. I don't know if Ohio State has that, and either Nick McClarty or Joe McGuire, but both of them are pretty good players.
Yeah, shotgun shells and Bevo. We get the whole thing going on here. I'm not going to kill Bevo, guys. I promise. I like Bevo and I respect Bevo, but I'm sure Bevo is delicious.
Please don't come after us, PETA. This is just a podcast.
Yeah, I'm just a show. Here's the deal, Mick. Ohio State, Texas is in 3.5 weeks. Lettermen Row will be in the horseshoe for Ohio State versus Texas, but we've got a lot of coverage from quarterback battles to defensive tackle rotation to offensive line shaking up to the punter battle to everything in between and more coming over at lettermenrow.com. You can get all of that coverage now until August 30th for $1. You get the entire lead-up coverage to Ohio State versus Texas, 1 versus 2. James Laurinaitis said this is what college football is all about on Thursday or on Wednesday. He's right, by the way. For $1, you get all of that coverage right now over at lettermenrow.com for $1, new members only. We'll see you guys over there. With your membership to Lettermen Row, you get access to read all of the boards and stories of every other site in the On3 network, which includes Inside Texas. You can go read all that Texas coverage if you want to find out what's going on down on the 40 acres. You can get at national insight from our guy Pete Nakos, our guy Ari Wasserman, Andy Staples. You can get a lot of – Pete's actually calling me right now. I'll have to
coverage from Steve Wiltfong and Chad Simmons.
Absolutely.
Sam Spiegelman. If you want to just jump on the YouTube and you say, oh, wow, like we mentioned, Josh Pate earlier has joined the team at On3. He's partners with us. He's going to be with us this season doing podcasts. Hopefully we can catch up with him too when he's in Columbus, I imagine, with whatever his tour will be named here shortly on August 30th. So that'll be cool. Different podcast, different writing. On Thursday morning, they announced that Ross Dellinger, who works with Yahoo, is going to be doing something weekly with On3 as well. So everything you could possibly want, anything you could possibly want to read about it when it comes to college football, this college football season, will be right here at On3 and Rivals. And like we said, $1 gets you through August 30th. And we haven't talked about this yet, and we probably won't talk about it but it seems like every recruit in the country is going to be in the horseshoe as well on August 30th. So we'll talk about that too as it gets closer. Man, Mick, you just can't wait. You're so excited. I'm so excited too. I'm going to go to Academy Sports and Outdoors and just get like a cooler or something, or get something really good to get myself feeling ready for football season. $1 through August 30th. Go to lettermenrow.com. Get that deal right now. We'll see you guys back here on Friday for more breakdowns of the Buckeyes. Until then, just go to lettermenrow.com. You'll see Mick and I's work over there, as well as the rest of the Lettermen Row crew. We'll see you guys there, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for more breakdowns of the Ohio State Buckeyes as they march through August training camp.